All right, everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right, so we have been working on this concept of transcending the I, of which we will continue to transcend the I. All right, so when you accept that peace within, there is no I that gives it. In fact, the I disappears, and the inner peace then just flows through you. It is the easiest thing in the world. You do nothing. There's no effort involved in this. The effort comes in dealing with the resistance to realizing there is no effort. When you find A Course in Miracles difficult, it is not because the Course itself is difficult. It is, however, it can be difficult to accept what is true. What is difficult is our fear of what is true and our need to perpetuate this I, this subject that relates to an object. That is why we speak of the Course in Miracles as a non-dualistic thought system. Truth is non-dualistic. It is beyond all separation and differences. And I'm going to go through that line by line because there's a number of interesting concepts. When you accept the peace within, there is no I. And I was thinking about that in relationship to this chart this week, because if you think about this as a thought, or these are the thoughts of the ego, and we know some of the thoughts are positive and some of them are negative, but it doesn't matter if they're positive or negative because all thoughts are part of the illusion. And Jesus is outside of the illusion because he no longer plays in the little t thoughts. He aligns with what truth is. So when it says, when you accept that peace within, there is no I that gives it. So if you're in the midst of an argument, an upset, an irritation, whatever it may be, and you stop and you say, Holy Spirit, show me what truth is, you're literally dropping this for a moment, and you're actually aligning with Jesus. The difference between him and I, or us at this point in time, is we might step out for a moment, but then we come back because we're not ready to literally embrace the allness of the oneness.
But we're out.
You're at that moment, you're outside of time and space, and like this chart, that holy instant, you're actually out of time and space and your body doesn't exist. And, you could call this space the same as what I just showed you, but this disappears for that moment because when you come with empty hands, you come with nothing of the past, nothing of the future. You come with, I don't know. And that's when the answer gets revealed to you of how to be eyeless.
So that's how when you do that, then that's how you learn what happens. That's how you learn where
what truth is.
Okay, that's how you learn that the I is no longer there.
The I is no longer, yeah.
Truth is there, but you didn't disintegrate.
No.
Well, you said Jesus was outside the illusion, so and he is part of the all.
Correct. He knows that none of the illusion is real.
Part of the truth.
Correct.
Whatever you want to say.
Yes.
Could you say part of heaven?
I would say, the Course would describe it as Jesus is like right here. Okay, heaven, since it's all, can only happen when we're all done.
I'm glad you said
Yes.
this. I know I've heard this.
Yeah. But he's out of time and space, and he's not affected by anything that has to do with the illusion of upset, irritation,
Yes,
anger.
time and space,
Yes.
he's out of the illusion, but he's
Correct.
not quite back to heaven because he's got to bring his brothers, which is all of us,
Right.
with him back to heaven.
Correct. But which sounds like he's in this place going, all right, guys, would you kind of get this already?
Yeah.
But he's actually in a timeless experience, so time doesn't affect him at all. It's only from our point of view that we look at him as though that's a problem from him, but it's really not that way at all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's really
yes,
great.
yes, yeah.
So when
That's
you
why I
have-
can walk on water.
Well, that's why he could walk on water, because he didn't live by the rules that we live by. And the Course doesn't really talk a whole lot about what they called miracles in the Bible, but this miracle is he transcended the belief in the illusion. So nothing of the illusion has any effect on him. And in the Bible it talked about he was in the world but not of the world, because he could still be physically seen, but he knew unequivocally it wasn't real. We, on the other side, believe it's real, and therefore we are affected by whatever degree that we are in that belief system.
So that, I can see then how some of all the miracles that they described in Catholicism, the miracles
Right.
that were described,
Right.
were kind of inklings of what something's different here, but we don't really
Correct.
know how to explain it. Yeah, that's
Right.
really what it is.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So we,
Were you there?
so there's all these little hints in
Yes.
a lot of places, not just in the Bible.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of places,
Yes.
a lot of experiences that other people go through,
Absolutely.
they talk about, that really do add, help. Like you look at that and you think, as a Catholic, that's insane. How did he
Right.
make wine out of water?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense at all, but according to the idea of the concept of being out of time, it does.
Yes, it does.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be exactly what they wrote in the Bible. It's not-
Correct.
It's just something completely out of time and space that they couldn't really talk about because they didn't understand it.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. And again, our goal ultimately is to move beyond the I. And again, when you drop the story and understand the stories all are a me against a you, okay? So there's always dualism in a story, okay? So when you drop this story, you're dropping your investment in being the I. And you come to that empty space of which I don't know. I don't know what my brother's up to. I don't know what I'm up to. I don't know. And that allows that space where you literally move beyond time and space.
And it's kind of just a testing ground because you don't know what's going to happen. You listen, you go with what the book says, and then you try it out and see
Exactly. Yes.
See what you think about it.
Yep.
So
And
Mary,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Jason.
so I wanted to ask a question, kind of about this topic.
Okay.
So, if a person has a negative opinion of you,
Okay.
if you adopt their opinion, then you'll have a negative opinion of you. But if you don't adopt their opinion, it's unloving, right?
If you don't adopt their
If
opinion,
you
it's
don't adopt
unloving?
their opinion, it's unloving. Like
No, I would not go there.
you're rejecting them, basically.
No, again, this is all.
So
in-
how would you
First
frame
of
that?
all, this is all in your mind. It doesn't have anything to do with what's going on out there. If you know who you are, the words of somebody else could never take your peace away. And you don't have to pretend you're somebody else. You are who you are.
But when they do take your peace away, what do?
Well, when they seemingly take your peace away, which the Course kind of suggests they can't really take your peace away unless you already don't have peace. And the reason you wouldn't have peace is because you were on the dualistic side instead of the oneness side. Keep remembering, in oneness, there is nobody else. I'm aligned with love, period.
But until you get there, you've got
Oh, well, until,
Right, but in the ego,
people after
in the ego,
yeah.
is one of
so in the ego, do you just remove that person from your life because they have a negative opinion of you?
Do you think Jesus would remove anybody from his life? And the answer is no. Now, having said that, if you can't, how do I want to word this? If you can't be in that space, and I'll give an example. If you're an alcoholic, you're in AA, it's probably not a good idea to spend a lot of time in the bars with your old buds, okay? Because you're not mature enough in your belief system and moving beyond that. So for a time, it may be a requirement or a suggestion for you not to spend a lot of time with that. But ultimately, when you are literally healed, you could be anywhere, do anything, be with anyone, and your peace would override absolutely everything. And that's our goal. How do I get there? With many steps along the way.
Right. And I understand that from a Course
Right.
in Miracles perspective. I'm kind of looking at this from an ego perspective because, that person is basically having this negative opinion of you, and it's harmful to you.
Okay, if you're an ego, it will always be harmful to you. And that's your red flag to say, wait a minute, I'm being affected by something going on in the world. Holy Spirit, show me who I really am.
Okay.
And don't blame it on them. You see, they couldn't have showed up in your face if you hadn't had a projection from your mind that's not healed yet. So it's not really about them. It's really about my attraction point within that holds something other than true love.
Right. I have a doorbell in me that they're
You
just ringing.
still have the doorbell. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, that's when my brother becomes my salvation, because the only way I'm ever going to know I got a problem is if somebody can trigger me. And I don't know about your life, but there's a whole lot of people out there that like to play that role. And that ultimately that's great news.
I just feel like, I mean, other than the doorbell that we're talking about, which is a very helpful thing, I feel like I'm constantly having to, defend myself against that negativity.
But that again, rather than do what you have to do in wherever you are, but eventually take that upset defense and bring it to the Holy Spirit, because again, this is about me coming to know unequivocally who I am. And again, if I'm aligned with that, nothing in the world, anybody, no matter what anybody says about me, cannot come in and take my peace away.
So that would mean I'm not aligned with that.
Would that mean that you're not alive? Is that what you
That
said?
would mean I'm not aligned with that. I'm not aligned with that
Oh,
piece. I'm not aligned with that.
absolutely.
I'm adrift, so to
And
speak.
that's your training ground, if you use it for that training ground. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, in fact, the I disappears and the inner peace then just flows through you when you come from that place of emptiness instead of duality. And keep remembering, all outside judgments, attacks, separation, all that is always coming from duality. I mean, you could kind of think of that space that I'm constantly talking about, that empty space, is non-duality. It's connecting with the oneness instead of connecting with the duality. So when I connect with oneness instead of duality, the I falls away. And I'm literally connecting with the inner peace that I am, which then will flow automatically through me, because there's no longer any barriers that keep that love from flowing. And the Course talks about the idea, you need do nothing. I need to get out of the way. Stop. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to, visualize what love is. I don't have to do any of that. I have to get the space empty that says something other than what truth is, and open to an empty space and ask for what is truth.
And you can't be attached to that
And
particular
you
thing.
can't be attached to the outcome.
That physically feels like is in your way, or is
That's
you can't
correct.
be attached to helping them heal that, because
Yep.
that's not your business, which is, I think that's the other part of it that's difficult to do, because
Yes.
like you said in AA or whatever, initially you just stay away from them.
Well, of course,
Because
absolutely.
that's what they're demanding, that they're going to take it out on you unless you get out of there.
Well, not even that they would, even if they don't do anything to you, your beginning steps in learning the rules and regulations and, one day at a time I don't drink. Well, if I'm hanging around with all my buddies who always drink, there's a better chance I will go back on that because I'm not strong enough to hold it on my own. And that might, and what Jason was talking about, the person, he may need to step away from that person for a time because he's not ready to fully embrace what truth really represents. And that's okay, but also know that if I'm doing that, it's because I'm not fully healed in my mind yet.
But I guess my experience getting divorced was that I had to step away from that situation,
Yep.
and I was allowed to still have loving, give
Right.
love to that situation. So
Right.
when I got away from him, I was healed of everything. And it wasn't just him; it was the toxic relationship about how it made me feel, how I was being treated, and I was able to let go of it without being angry with
Right.
that person.
Right.
And that's, I guess,
Yes.
that was.
And the Course would never say stay or go, do this or do that. It says go within, let that answer come through you, whatever is the best thing at that time. And perhaps today your response to that would be a different answer. I don't know. That's, who knows?
Well, that's true, and also the upbringing I had said you stay no matter
Well,
what.
sure,
You
exactly.
just stay with this situation because you made a commitment and all these kind of things. And so that was a large step for me to say, no, I don't have to do that.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna go to hell if I don't.
Correct. Yep.
And all that kind of stuff, and how
Yep.
to really put enough space so that I didn't have those awful feelings and I didn't carry that with me anymore.
But you know what? It wasn't until like 1968 or 69 or something like that you were not allowed to get a divorce unless one was
Sure.
found to be committing adultery or abandonment.
Yep. Yep.
So you would have had to have stayed. I don't know what year you divorced, but, it's hard to believe for me. It's like, I was already pretty much an adult when that came into being with irreconcilable differences
Yep.
became an adequate reason to
Right.
divorce.
Well, divorce was really
Yeah, that was
an
bad.
insane idea to me from the time I was a small child. It was not gonna happen to to me or to anybody else. But
Right.
when I was faced with the whatever the situation was, my instincts told me that I didn't care what the other things said. I didn't have to go to the priest and ask him, was it okay? I just said, I don't know,
Yep.
but I'm not gonna stick with this, right? I felt drawn to be having freedom and having peace instead of all that.
Yep.
Which I didn't keep attributing to him, I attributed it to, this was a situation between us.
Right. Yep.
When I was a kid as a Catholic, I knew that was a crazy rule.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the other thing that we might want to look through in the filter of understanding the Course. All the rules in the dualistic experience can shift and change depending on how the wind's blowing. Truth remains truth no matter what happens. And so that's another way to kind of boil it down to, is this really what I'm resonating with? If it can change or shift or be different, then it's part of the ego, and that's not good or bad, it's just the facts. Yeah. So he goes on to say, when you find A Course in Miracles difficult, it is not because the Course itself is difficult. How can it be difficult to accept what is true? And the answer to that is why it's so difficult to accept what is true is because we're very addicted to what is false. It's all we've known since we took our first breath on planet Earth.
A lot of
And
rules.
we set it up that way. So how do I go from here to here when this is all I know, and this is, the solid, what I see, feel, touch, smell, and all that kind of stuff, of which the Course comes along and says none of that's real. You don't really see, hear, smell, or feel. That's all set up of the to keep you stuck here. And so as this becomes intolerable enough, we eventually have that moment where we say, I can't do this anymore, help. And that's kind of the shift that takes us to choosing something different, because we can't do it on our own.
Well, so it's kind of outrageous then how the idea of divorce made more sense according to the Course, even though we had been stuffed with the other thought system.
Yep.
That we actually were reaching up, or we're reaching out of that system up into the course, up into, well, there's gotta be a way, different way, right?
Right.
Of getting
Yep.
in this world.
And keep remembering, all of us were brought up in what I call a box. We either chose to stay in that box or we went the opposite direction and made our own box. But once we got stuck in either one of those boxes, we were stuck. We were solid. There was no possibility of something outside of those boxes. And this is literally something outside of the boxes because, this is not part of the linear aspect of our understanding of the world. And that can be a difficult choice to make because it's just, out of the norm of what we experience life to be. All right. What is difficult is our fear of what is true and our need to perpetuate this I. And I don't think anybody on the planet, let alone in this class, has any clue how deeply seated we are in the belief system of me. It's big, very big. And, I'm okay with going to positive, make the world a little bit better. But wait a minute, no world, no nothing, no me, that's quite a stretch for the average person. And that's why Jesus keeps reminding us, all you need is the little willingness for 1 minute to come with empty hands and ask for help. Even if the next moment you're right back there again, that little willingness, because every time you have a little willingness, if I had a pair of scissors, I could trim a little bit of this darkness away. Because every time I ask for healing, I ask to be shown who I really am, a little bit of this is disappearing. And eventually that will just be one little chunk left and I'll go, oh yeah, why wouldn't I want this? But that's going to take a little bit of practice before we get to that point.
But isn't it too like what we say it is, or how the words are presented, we're going to disappear or something like that?
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes.
That's not
It's
the experience.
your identification with the character called me that will disappear.
And that's different from.
Very different
I
than
guess
I
we're not all
disappear.
gonna go remember that word
Yeah.
food from a few
Yeah.
years ago.
And the challenge with that is, since we all identify so intently with our bodies, it sounds like I'm going to go poof. What really happens is my investment in this body, in this world, will go poof because I'm aligned with what is true instead of what is
and that
false.
would be an awareness and a revelation of oneness.
Yes, and correct, absolutely, yes. All right, so that is why we speak of A Course in Miracles as a non-dualistic thought system. Truth is non-dualistic. It is beyond all separation and differences. So again, this is truth, this is false, but we're very addicted to the false right now. So be very gentle with yourself in this process of letting go, but also keep working at it, okay? And if we take this, the more time I spend here, the more the ego is going to be what's the word? Recycled, yes. Garbage, recycle, what was the word? And the more you choose for this, the more this becomes your investment in truth. Yeah, and so, again, which one do I pick? That's where the answer lies. And, it sounds like, why don't we just go over here and be done with this already? But we, again, don't have any clue how invested I am in this. All right, so for what your inward vision looks upon is your perception of the universe. So if my inward vision is this, I'm going to see that projected into the world. If my inward vision is this, I'm going to see the connection and oneness and love. And that's going to come automatically because I've chosen for this. So as you look out at the world and see duality literally everywhere you turn, especially those irritating people that upset you all the time, just be aware that it has to be an effect of the choice for separation. And my only recourse is to drop the story and ask to be shown the story through the lens of truth. All right. So this is just a little paragraph from Workbook 188. Sit quietly and close your eyes. The light within you is sufficient. It alone has power to give the gift of sight to you. Exclude the outside world and let your thoughts fly to the peace within. They know the way, for honest thoughts, untainted by the dream of worldly things outside yourself, become the holy messengers of God Himself, which is such a beautiful statement. And yet, I live in this world where I'm the hero of the dream, and there's good stuff and bad stuff that are calling my names, and the shiny coins and the problems and the issues and whatever. We can all sit in that stately calm with a minute or two, and then we come back and go, yeah, but what about, how do I fix this? How do I change this? We're not, at this point, very satisfied with the results of just sitting and being peaceful in my mind. And right now, as it says, sit quietly and close your eyes. Most of us who have ever done any meditation, they usually have you sit and cross your legs and do this and do that and whatnot, which is good practice to come to that quiet, because we kind of close out the outside world. But our goal eventually is to have that quiet be everything that I look through, instead of that 10 minutes or 15 minutes that I do in the morning or evening. But we got to start somewhere, so we start with where we are.
That page.
Yeah, that would be workbook 188, and that's paragraph 6, and I believe it starts with line 1 through 6. Yeah. Alrighty. So after having said that paragraph, he goes on to say, we do not have to do anything. I don't have to figure out what peace is. I don't have to figure out what healing is. I have to become aware I don't want this anymore, and have the willingness to step over here and ask Him to show me another way, without any investment of what the fixing of this is going to look like. That's none of my business. But this will always take me to truth. This will always perpetuate the illusion.
So, Marianne,
Yes.
so you basically have to shine a very big light on that bell that we were talking about, right?
On the bell?
On the bell that's in me that's getting triggered every time.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. We have to become
Shine a
aware.
very big light with the Holy Spirit on that bell and say, look, obviously I'm getting triggered by this person.
Correct.
And obviously I don't believe about myself. I mean, I believe some of what they're saying about me, which is causing me grief.
Right. Well, and keep remembering, I give the example, if I walked up to you, Jason, and said you have purple hair and you're 6 foot tall, or 6'8", whatever, you would not be affected by my words at all. If any one of us can be affected by any words or actions coming from another, there has to be that residency within me. So instead of pointing a finger, hating, judging, attacking my brother, which you may start out with because that's just kind of the knee-jerk response to being irritated or upset. But when you can bring yourself to a more calm place and the concepts and ideas of the Course kind of kick in, and you think, oh, wait a minute, I could see this differently if I want to, that's the space where I leave it empty of the story of whatever's going on, and I ask to be shown what truth is and what I really am. And as you keep doing that, that investment in understanding who I am comes to the surface more, and then the ego part starts to fall away.
And it's never about the other person.
It is zero, ever, never about the other person. Now, the other person is doing what they're doing, don't get me wrong, but again, if I was over here, the person could do absolutely, positively everything, and I would not have my peace disrupted at all. So if it's being disrupted, just remember, this is who's in charge. This is my daddy right now. But my other daddy's over here if I want it anytime. And be very aware, this all sounds good on paper when we're sitting here and nothing's going on in your life. But, somebody comes up to you and snaps you one, do you really want to let that go? Do you really want to find out what truth is in that moment? And the answer is probably, usually, not really. because I'm still addicted to the juice of the thrill of the excitement of the duel.
Don't you stick your toe in the water? I
You-
want to
yes,
know.
yes.
In this moment, Jesus, help me to see how I'm one with you instead of one with this other stuff going on that I
Exactly.
don't like.
Yep.
You know, that's your question to God.
Yep.
And you don't know what you're saying. You're just putting your belief in it. You don't even believe it.
Nope.
You don't know what to do. So you try that out. You stick
Yep.
your toe in that
Right.
in that pond and see that your toes getting wet. It's different from being full of having the shit up to your nose.
Yep.
It's a
But
little
sometimes
bit-
it has to come up to here before I'm ready to come from that place. And that's okay, because that day will come, I promise you. And then the pain becomes so intolerant that we are seriously willing. Till then, I got it under control. See you later, God.
I mean, it's the only.
At a minimum, you want to prove them wrong.
Oh, absolutely. And don't we always want to prove them wrong? And why do I want to prove them wrong? Because I think I'm right. And as long as I'm playing in that arena, there's always two of us. And in two-ness, you're never going to be at peace and connection and oneness.
Yeah, you're not, if you're the victim of what that person keeps saying, then that's where you have to turn the key and say, how am I not the victim here?
Yep.
It's evil.
Yep. And again, sounds easy on paper, but in the midst of the chaos of life or the upsets or irritations that take place in life, it's not easy to turn on. Sort of like having an old faucet that's just rusted on, and then it breaks, so you have to get the guy to come in, and he's got this big huge wrench and he's trying to undo it, and it takes a really long time because it's so invested and it's so stuck. Well, that's us. And it keeps turning and turning and turning and turning, and finally it'll let go. But wow, what a trip sometimes.
But also, with the ego involved, having that other person, whoever that is, around your neck all day long, or having them say these things all the time, is like this kind of a setup for yourself that you put there, that you're stuck with this thing going on day in and day out. So you never get a little vacation or a little break from there's something wrong with the toaster, or there's something wrong with fix this, and you don't get a break. So I think if I learned anything from the course or from Spirit is take a breath. I need a break. My break would be meditation for 15 minutes.
Sure.
And I wasn't caught up in their realm all the time. I had my own little spot to go, and
Right.
I felt much better when I was in there.
Sure.
And it made me stop judging them. They were still in the house, whatever.
Right.
But anyway,
Yep.
it's just it's that kind of being enmeshed with somebody.
Well, there's no question, if you're enmeshed with somebody, your classroom is up close and personal. It's not just Monday and Friday. It's Monday through Saturday or Sunday, and it's pretty well up. And again, if someone is not up to practicing that diligently in that situation, probably it's a good idea to step away. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. But the potential of healing that relationship would be available to you if you choose to practice what the Course is saying. In fact, I think it's the teacher's manual, I'm not positive, but there's a delightful little section that talks about the types of people we draw into our lives. And one level is, maybe somebody you knew in kindergarten, or somebody you meet in an elevator or something, and they smile at you and pat you on the head. Then there's people you knew for a long time going to school, and then you don't see them anymore. Then it goes to the third one, and it says, now these relationships are relationships that are lifelong, can be extremely upsetting, difficult, and challenging, and they don't go away. But this is actually a custom-made opportunity for you to practice the Course if you're ready to handle it from that level. So again, any level is a potential, but if you're not ready for that potential level, it's better to go somewhere else. But you'll get other classrooms because the projection doesn't go away. See, that's the deal. See, it doesn't matter if I look over here with my projection, it's going to show up on the wall. If I turn my head here, it's going to look over there, and they're going to look very different. But I'm not going to lose. How do I want to say this? I'm not going to lose the opportunity for healing because it's yeah.
Just because it looks different.
Exactly. It's going to follow me everywhere I go because I'm the one that's carrying the slide in front of the light. I know.
So really, basically, I guess I'm thinking of my mother. You know, my mother's been gone for years, but how I have a proclivity toward people who are like my mother. And I've
Well,
learned-
there you go.
I've learned that that's my blessing, though, because I did heal that relationship, and so it's just, I guess it's just the way I roll. I mean, it's how I came out to be that person, to have to deal with that kind of personality, and so my blessing is I see it that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think the beauty of us becoming aware of my triggers and being aware that I'm oftentimes triggered by the same kinds of things over and over. Now, initially, something happens, I respond. Something happens, I respond. But eventually, we become a little bit sharper, I guess you could say, and we start to realize, oh, this is not a new one. This one's been down the road a little bit before. And then you start to hone in your mind of recognizing, oh, this is something for me to really work on because I know this hook is, my custom-made hook. And as I always talk about becoming a private investigator of the ego. The more I understand the dynamics of the ego, the better I am at being conscious when the experience shows up, rather than just being blindsided every time something shows up. Yeah, you had something.
Doesn't the Course mention somewhere about healing relationships that someone could be dead 20 years?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, without question.
Right.
And also be very aware of how a thought of somebody that irritated you that's dead for 20 years can be just as devastating as somebody standing in front of you. The ego part of our mind does not care how it pulls you in. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not Marley's ghost
No,
coming after you, it's really your own thoughts.
It's always coming from, again, it's coming from the slide that's in front of God's face. And all of them are coming from the slide I carry in my mind that gets projected out in the world. And then I say, that's me and all of you are the bad guys. They're all coming from my mind, just like when we're asleep at night and you have a dream. Your boss yells at you. You don't wake up in the morning, go to work, and yell at your boss and tell him, how dare you do that to me? We all intellectually know that's not the way this works. But that's exactly what we do in the daytime dream. And the Course is kind of asking us to step back, take a deep breath, and realize if I see any, in that words, I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and have received as I have asked. Well, excuse the expression, damn, that is not the way it looks like to me. I was whistling on the way to work, and then somebody, stuck their tongue out at me, or whatever it is that takes my peace away. It is not coming from me. But the answer is, yes, it is, on a higher level of the Son of God who's separated from love, who's looking, or who then projected into the world multiple individuals of which we dumped our stuff in and then pointed the finger at them, saying it's them that's the problem and not me. That's not, how many of us have been studying this Course for quite some time now, and that's just not the natural response when somebody attacks you or makes you feel bad or whatever they do. But this is keep coming back to, wait a minute, that's not about them. It's about something within me that needs to be healed. And then I have the opportunity to make another choice. And that's fantastic.
Because it's something that's in you that you're not aware of.
Exactly.
Being there,
And they're helping
Then
you.
it becomes clear through the study of this, it becomes clear that
Yep.
That's the way it works, and if I can let go loose of that part, if I let loose of that part, everything else will kind of start to fall in line.
Yep. We need only be quiet, and when we are in our right minds, our thoughts will automatically be in alignment. And I've given this example before. If you're in the midst of being upset or angry, do you think you're ever going to make a good choice or decision? And I'd say the answer is probably never. If you calm your mind, then you step forward, I guarantee it's going to be a better choice. And that's kind of what he's saying. Start from that place of peace and connectedness, and then the results are going to be very different, because if you're coming from the dualistic place, you're always going to perpetuate dualism. When you can stop and come over here, then you're aligning with what truth is. The honest thoughts, and they talked about honest thoughts in that paragraph that I read a few minutes ago. The honest thoughts are the correction for the dishonest thoughts of the ego. So what he's talking about is the honest thoughts are the alignment with truth. The dishonest thoughts are what the ego has set up, beginning with the thought that we could be separate from God. Well, the whole house of cards over here is based on we believe we could have separated from God. And the Course would say, yes, you're having that experience, but guess what? None of this is real. You're really back at home in oneness. But to the degree we're invested, we believe, we're addicted with this thought system, that's what will continue to carry forth. And each time, literally every time I catch that and step over here, I'm erasing the solidity of this experience to some degree, which is really great. All right, the honest thought is always some expression of the atonement that says we could never be separate from God. And the Course talks about accepting the atonement for myself. It does not say I have to tell everybody else about how they're supposed to change so I'll be okay, like we normally do most of the time, which does not work out very well. It's about I have to accept the atonement for myself. And the way I accept the atonement for myself is to step over here and ask to see what truth is. And eventually I will know unequivocally what truth is, and nothing from this bubble can affect me because I'll be over here. All right, so the honest thought is always some expression of the atonement that says that we could never be separate from God. Therefore, we are not separate from God. The honest thought is that the sonship is not separated or fragmented. It is one. And so as we look out in our world, look at all the irritants that show up. They're trying to tell you, yes, indeed, you are separated from the love of God. Look, you got this character over here who's taking your peace away. But what am I going to do with that? Am I going to wallow in that? Am I going to point my finger at that? Am I going to yell and scream at that? Am I going to try to convince that they should see it my way because I'm right and they're wrong? Or am I going to stop and open a space and say, I don't know?
Yes, we're going to do it all those different ways.
Yeah.
Until we get to the other
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So the process that Jesus is talking about here is simply the idea of being quiet. And one of the ways that we reach that quiet is by paying attention to all the noise and chatter going on within us, the thunder of the meaningless, which sounds anti what healing should appear to be. So I'm going to read that again. The process that Jesus is talking about here is simply the idea of being quiet. And one of the ways that we reach the quiet is by paying attention to all the noise and chatter going on within us. And many people who teach meditation will suggest you sit and try to be quiet, and all the upsets and irritations, or it's I got to go to the grocery store when I'm done with this, and I'm making that list in my head, are like thinking about a train that's going by, but it's moving past. Instead of getting hooked and caught on the thoughts that come forth, and then blowing them up and making them, big. Simply, oh, here goes another thought. Oh, yes, here goes another thought. And not get engaged in it, because then it won't take your peace away and it won't pull you in. All right, and this concept of the thunder of meaningless is a actual quote from the Course that talks about, the whole illusion is a thunder of meaninglessness, because it's not real. All of it. Doesn't matter how big or small or insignificant it is. All of it is the thunder of, where's the quote? Of meaningless. Okay, so basically what he's saying is absolutely everything of the illusion is meaningless, including you. And probably especially you. All right, the idea is not to struggle or fight against the noise, or should you shout it down. So, normally what we do is we struggle against whatever the situation is that's going on in the world, right? We want to fix it, we want to change it, we have to show them how to do it and all that kind of stuff, instead of simply, okay, this is what's going on. Holy Spirit, you keep reminding me that if I align with you, you will show me a different answer than the insanity of this separation. I'd like to walk over there right now. Thank you. There I go, making a big hullabaloo again. Then I go finding fault. Well, this is what he's saying is, after that, if I don't get what I think I want, then I'm going to find some fault, story, plot, revenge, and doing all sorts of judgmental things. Because, get over there, I'm too afraid of being here all the time. This is beyond my capacity at this time to survive, because it's too obtuse. So I come running back down here and find some problem to point a finger at and judge and attack. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody else. It can be me. It can be my body. I don't like what in my body is or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll find something within the illusion that will suck me in, and I'll spend a lot of time, I'll pick one of the things on here and I'll go, yeah, I need this. I got to have this. Or how dare they do this to me if it's something negative. Instead of go back up here, there used to be a dot over here, to go up here above the battleground and drop the storyline. But the storylines are very compulsive. They're very luring. They want to get our attention all the time, and they do an excellent job. All righty, so, and the reason why we do this is because we are afraid of the quiet. I'm afraid of the light, and I'm afraid of the lack of the I, because I've spent my entire lifetime being identified with the I, and I don't know how to not be with the I. And again, that's the beauty of the little willingness, because we're only being asked for this moment. And when I choose in this moment, again, part of this solidness gets erased, and my identification with this starts to grow. Even though the argument, the irritation, the upset might get uglier, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for more connection with my mind that knows who I am. Normally what we do is we have an investment. I got this problem. God, would you come and fix this problem? Tell that idiot to do something different so I'll be okay. That's not what we're even looking for. And throughout the Course, Jesus speaks, you don't even know what the problem is. You don't know what the answer is. You don't know how to solve it. I do, you don't. You only have a very limited understanding of the dynamics of what is going on. And as long as you think you're going to be in control, it's never going to come out the way you want it to come out, if you're really looking for peace. Now, if you're really looking to be right, you got the right place going. So again, obviously, I'm afraid of the quiet, I'm afraid of the light, and I'm afraid of the diminishedness of my I. And therefore, we cover over the oneness and the universal light by going back into fragmentation, separation, judgment, and attack. So it's sort of like that concept, 1 step forward, 3 steps back, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. And just be aware in the process of practicing the Course, that's going to happen. And you know, I know all of you are probably either by reading the course or listening to a tape or coming to class gotten an aha moment, and you go, oh yeah, wow, that's it. And by the time you go out into the parking lot, you've totally forgotten what that aha moment was. This is normal. And that's really the resistance of fully removing or transcending the I. It's terrifying where we're sitting. Ultimately, it's truth. It's the only answer. But to the degree I'm addicted to the opposite, it will feel like I'm lacking or I'm losing instead of actually gaining. All right, so these thoughts you think with him, they recognize their home, and they point surely to their source, where God the Father and the Son are one. And once again, if you're in the midst of an argument, do you really want to know that the Father, the Son, and I are one? No, you want to punch their eyes out and prove to them that you're right and they're wrong. And you just have to kind of smile and go, yeah, yes, that's really where I am. Because we literally believe we are right and they are wrong. And I've got the facts, man, and I can get like a million people behind me to stand behind me and say, yes, you're right, they're wrong. But that still won't take you to peace.
You have to cut it off your head. The minute you feel that stuff in your throat, you're like ready to do something. You go, uh-oh.
Yeah. And
No.
right. And as you keep working on this, you may be, I may be walking over to Bernardo and want to just rip him to pieces. Well, and you could take steps halfway across the room and all of a sudden a thought will come in your mind and that will totally shift. And it won't be because Mary Ann's looking to be nice to Bernardo. It will because the awareness of that connection with oneness will overtake that moment and that everything will fall away. And it can be like, whoa, quite powerful when moments like that occur. And as he says, I don't have to figure this out. It will be figured out from within me as I continue to choose the correct answer. And it's none of my business when that takes place, how long, how it unfolds, what it looks like. I got out of the way. That's my only job. All right, so these honest thoughts are the reflection of God. And while this statement of oneness is meaningless to us here, the reflection of that truth is meaningful. And I love this statement, and it's a little hard to understand. But what it means is when I keep choosing for the honest thoughts, in other words, aligning with God, the oneness is not going to be meaningful here, but it is meaningful in my mind because I'm now aligning more with the thoughts of oneness and less with the thoughts of duality. That's not going to fix this, but it will fix this, and this is really what we're working on fixing. We reflect the oneness of the Son with the Father by seeing everyone here as sharing the same single purpose and the same single need to awaken from the dream of separation. And this is, I think, always kind of humorous as well. Now, don't we all want to just jump right over here and leave those little suckers over there? And if anybody says no, because I want to come over here, show me what how good I am, God. You stay over there. You don't belong in my circle of love. And love only has one circle. We're either all there or we're all outside of the circle. So in order for me to step into the circle of love, I cannot bring the story of hate towards my brother for that one moment. Again, I don't have to relinquish it from now to kingdom come. All I need to relinquish is that one moment where I have the willingness to ask him to show me another way.
So does their body disappear in that moment? I'm thinking that everything goes into that one moment and you just have dropped all the other things.
Correct.
So your eye disappears.
Your eye disappears, but instead of duality that gets projected on that brother, there will be oneness reflected on that brother. Now, that brother may not be ready for that, highly likely, so they're going to run and hide underneath something, and they're going to see you as the bad guy, which is why they crucified Jesus back then, because he didn't fit in with their story. But you did your part of reflecting love, and that's not up to you how long it takes for that other individual to catch up to that.
And that's, you're doing that, to me, well, I guess my experience has been that other person, whatever the upset is, diminishes it diminishes right away from who did it, or where did it come from. So that's, I guess, to see my eye disappear, and their eye become more in alignment with the Holy Spirit. So
Well, but see, that could happen, but it doesn't necessarily happen. That individual, if they're terrified of this, could actually become more terrified when you choose for this, because they don't have the wherewithal to understand what that represents. And they may attack you 5 times harder than what they did the moment before when they were already pretty abusive, okay?
Okay, so
All right.
that's where forgiveness
Correct.
is something that I do.
You only hold firm to your end of the bargain, because that's
My
all that you're
atonement,
responsible
my
for.
being the atonement, but my atonement is all I can count on.
That's correct. And think about this, when Jesus, totally relinquished the world and he was outside of the dream, he now saw all of us outside of the dream. But obviously, most of us haven't caught up to that because we're still playing in the dream. But he holds only that image because he can only see through that image. Yeah. And as we leave this behind, we will be standing right next to Jesus in line with that as well. So again, where's the problem? Where's the solution? If you're out here, you only see love. If you're in here, you're going to see anything but love. You're going to see some that looks a little better than the real bad love, the hate, but you're still not over here where you know only unequivocal love. And again, it's all internal in me. They're a trigger, which reminds me I'm over here, and I can make that change if I choose to do so, again, in just that one moment.
Doesn't the Course say it only takes one person to save the world? And
That's
that person
correct.
is you? So
Yes,
what
yes.
they do, don't do,
No.
whatever happens is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The only person it takes is you to do the Course.
Yes. And I like to think of it, right, that's correct. And what I like to think about is, if I choose for this, that to me is the chocolate cake. And if it reflects in a way that's loving on the outside world, that's the frosting. I like frosting, I'll take the frosting. But if I do this for the frosting, I already have an investment in what the picture is supposed to look like so that I will believe it's true. I just keep asking and asking and asking and asking.
So that's where all the protection is. The only protection is really your atonement for yourself.
That's it.
That's
the whole
what
Course.
That's it.
keeps you in atonement, and
Yes.
everyone else is wherever they need to be.
That's exactly. And they literally are exactly where they need to be. If I think they need to be somewhere different, I'm right where they are.
Well, it's cool when they tell you that they think they need to be somewhere, and you try to tell them where that is, and then they said, go jump in the lake.
Yeah, well, and how many of us like to be told what to do? Not one of
When
us.
they ask, when they ask.
Right, yeah.
So then you say, but then I stopped doing that, I guess.
Yeah, well, we learn
My
as we
mother
go
never
along.
asked me that question.
Right,
And
right.
I never got an answer. I never expected an answer from her, but
Mhm.
I feel the answer within me. The answer is truth, which is within
Right.
me. And if she has it or not, it doesn't really matter, because I'm the
Nope.
only one having this experience. of
Exactly.
myself.
And I'm the only one that can turn the dial to the other side. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back.
Question.
All right, so we left off with the line, we reflect the oneness of the Son and the oneness of the Son with the Father by seeing everyone here as sharing the same single purpose and the same single need to awaken from the dream of separation. And, how many of us thought that was what we were doing here? Most people thought, oh, if I just make enough money, or if I do this or accomplish that, and I'm smart and whatever. Most of us don't look at it from the perspective of our real only purpose is to awaken from the dream of separation, which of course will take us to oneness.
Well, that's just so really true. I mean, all the people I know who aspire to be different things in life and have accomplished those things, but they didn't get here, they didn't get to Europe, all those kind of things can crowd in on your mind about what
Sure.
you didn't do.
Yep.
And yet, they kind of just stop. It's like it's over with. Like the dream is over when they're all done with everything. There's no more work to do, nothing else to do. The dream is over. That means I'm going to die soon. I mean, it's just doesn't.
Yep.
There's no kind of an extension of who I am in any of that. It's just I did all these things. What a waste.
Yep.
I spent all my time hitting my head against a wall. Why would I do that? Is to
Yep.
wake up to that instead of who I am.
Yep.
Which is, well, it's a sad thing to think of, and
Yes, it is.
but how your atonement for yourself is all that's really necessary,
Correct.
and that is what that generates something in the world.
Something different, right. Yep. No one is exempt from that. And within the world, if any one single person chooses to be that one sun and that one universe, because in that holy instant the world disappears in awareness and all that remains is a reflection of oneness. And this doesn't happen in a way where I necessarily am aware, other than so often as people share in the class, they'll say, I got out of the way and so happened, and I know that that's not something I would have ever chosen to happen. So that would be a reflection of that abstract oneness that is, filtrating into the world, because you become aware it didn't come of me. It was a reflection of something beyond me.
It was something I didn't do.
There you go.
Something
Good point.
I didn't do.
Uh-huh.
But they're talking about do nothing, well then so.
In that state of mind, known in the Course as the real world, you look out on the world and see what everyone else's eyes see, but you realize that what these eyes behold reflects the flimsy veil of separation that does not have the power to conceal the truth of that inner vision, that we all are indeed, but pretending we are something else. And I'll read that line again because, wow, talk about words in there. All right. In that state of mind, in other words, when you're choosing for connecting with oneness, that state of mind, the Course would say that's the real world. And again, I'm either focusing in on the world, and this represents all the thoughts, both positive and negative, of the world, or I'm having that moment where I say, I don't know, and then I'm aligning with oneness. Okay, and that's our ultimate goal, is to spend more and more time here, of which initially we can't spend a whole lot of time there because it's too frightening. So we keep popping back, one or the other, but slowly we will diminish this and we'll spend more time over here. So that's what the Course calls a real world. You look out on the world and see what everyone else's eyes see. So in other words, it's not the world is not going to change. And I always love the demonstration or explanation of Jesus dying on the cross from the Course. All those things happen, but he did not see that as an attack on him. He saw that simply as a call for love. And it's not like he would go, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to think of this as a call for love. He was looking through the lens of love, and he either saw love or the call for love, of which the only response, again, is love. Okay? But you realize that what these eyes behold reflects the flimsy veil of separation. So you realize it's just a play. It's just an illusion. It's not real. and does not have the power to conceal the truth of that inward vision. And that inward vision in this explanation is the connection of oneness rather than the connection with duality. That we all are indeed one, but pretending we are something else. And there's a cute, I'll hold on that thought. There's a cute little line that says, you can't wake up somebody who's pretending to be asleep. And in essence, we're really all pretending to be asleep, unbeknownst to us. Did you have something?
Yeah, I'm later than usual. I have a new hot water tank. For hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, right.
And hundreds of dollars of labor.
Excuse me.
There's a circumstance that kind of illustrates what you're saying. At least I think it does. I just saw a YouTube where a famous musician and producer called a famous guitarist and said, would you play on this kid's track? And the famous musician was telling the story to a guy who was the host of a show. The host's first thing was, I heard you didn't get paid for this little rendezvous. I mean, that's on that side of the chart, really. And then then his response was, they didn't ask me if I wanted any money, and I didn't ask them for any money. I just did it. And so he said, and he also said to himself, well, look, I said to myself, I check with my bandmates, we don't normally do stuff outside of our group, but something called me to do this thing. So he did the thing, and he said, well, nobody's going to listen to this kid's record. He said black kid's record, and nobody's going to really care. I just wanted to say yes. And so it turned out that Beat It was by Michael Jackson, produced by Quincy Jones, and the solo is like the signature part, that guitar solo is like the signature part of that whole song. And he told Michael, so that's one level. He found out a love of music. This guy's wondering, where's your money? And then when Michael Jackson was listening to what the guitarist was doing, he said, the guitarist said to Michael Jackson, I hope you don't mind, I rearranged your whole song. He said, man, no, I kind of like that high fast stuff. And then, he received. It was offered and received. This guy's not over here.
Not in the way that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I didn't know that.
Nice. It's fascinating when you hear the behind the scenes stories of how things came together, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, how people can share their gifts. It doesn't have to be a commerce or
Correct.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. But again, the mindset of the human is normally from that perspective, and this is beyond that perspective.
Yeah, when he said that, I said, yeah, did you get any money?
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with the guy, but.
All right, so that is how you would walk the world without turmoil, disquiet, fear, or guilt. And imagine walking the world from that place all the time, without turmoil, disquiet, fear, or guilt. And it doesn't matter what's going on the outside. My mind would remain in that quiet that isn't disrupted by anything or anyone else. Within that experience of oneness, you know there is nothing here that can hurt you. How many of you ever are afraid of the world? Pretty much a lot of the time, right? And to come to a place where I unequivocally know that I can't be hurt because I know I'm not the body. And as again, we have to take ourselves where we are, which is probably that I still believe in my body, and I do believe I can be hurt. But why not stretch that arm to understand that I'm not a body and come to a knowing that I can't be hurt? Because you look beyond the fragile veil of hate, specialness, separation, and nationalism to the universality of the light of oneness.
Where is that in the course?
That is not in the course. These are words of Ken's. But that whole idea of, how we're always chopping up the world in little sections, and this is, this against that. And in oneness, all that just doesn't have an effect whatsoever. That is your reality, and nothing can touch it when we're coming from the side of the Holy Spirit. All right, so we practice coming near to the light in us today. We take our wandering thoughts and gently bring them back to where they fall in line with all the thoughts we share with God. We will not let them stray. And this actually is from Workbook 188, paragraph 9. But thinking about the idea of we practice coming nearer to the light in us, we take our wandering thoughts. So as our wandering thoughts, come in on us, which they're going to do, and we bring them back to where they fall in line with the thoughts we share with God. And ultimately, that's what we're always doing when we drop the story and bring it back to, I don't know, I want to know the answer. And to catch ourselves more and more frequently of how frequently we fall into the trap of being pulled into the world, yet one more way and one more time, and slowly we become aware that that's not where I want to be. I want to align with truth. And again, oftentimes the reason why we want to align with truth is because this sucks so bad. No offense, that's the best way to put it. Because there's something wrong with the insanity of our world, and we want to step beyond that. This is not just for lesson 188. This is for all of us every day, day in and day out. Watch your wandering thoughts. Early in the text, Jesus said to Helen, "You are much too tolerant of mind wandering." And I think sometimes we look at the Course as, there's a problem in the world I just reacted to. But this is actually asking us to become aware of the thoughts that I carry in my mind that are being pulled into the world. I don't have to wait for something to happen in the world. Where's my focus? Is my focus in on who I am and truth? Or is my focus in some activity, situation, or circumstances going on in the world?
Like, show me the money. Every time you
Yep.
turn around, show me the money.
Yep.
That's the first thing you think.
And be very aware that we not only get wrapped up in our own stories, we actually get wrapped up in other people's stories. And that's exactly the same thing. I'm over there trying to, figure out that one. And be aware of how juicy that is too.
Well, it's nice when you can't figure out your own things. And
Oh,
you go to
yeah.
the Spirit, then
Yep.
going to the other thing is just another, like a sideways step into something that you don't want either. So I guess I feel more protected, I guess, having known it was for me and then seeing all those no sense jumping into their stuff.
Mm-hmm. When our thoughts wander, where do they go? They wander out of our minds into the world. So again, I'm either in my mind or I'm in the world. There goes another one, yeah. And we become much more vigilant of how frequently we're choosing for the world versus the mind. And then slowly we will choose to spend more time with the mind and less time with the world. And this is not about feeling guilty when you keep catching yourself being in the world. Just simply use that as an awareness. Oh, there I go again. I'm all wrapped up in the world and something that's going on here. Take a deep breath. Okay, Holy Spirit, I want to come back to that gentleness of oneness. Those are all our projections. And again, remember, the projections come from my mind that is in front of the face of God, and then it gets projected in the world, and then I look at the world and I see me in opposition to the world. But none of these are separate from my mind that is the slide that's in front of God's face. So if I blame any one of these characters for my lack of peace, I'm kind of lying to myself, because all of these characters are coming from my own mind. So if I'm yelling at them, I'm yelling at me. And again, this is all done up in, mirrors and smoke and mirrors. It's like we don't realize that's the setup, but that's the setup, and it keeps us all wrapped in there. All right. So Jesus is saying we should watch our wandering thoughts and gently, without coercion or pressure of any kind, to bring them back to where they fall in line with the thoughts we share with God. And I can assure you, when you start with the Course of Miracles in the first 40 or 50 years, this will happen a whole lot. And as you keep practicing, you'll catch it a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. Thus, we bring the darkness of our wrong minds to the light of our right minds, the illusions of our specialness to the love of God's presence. And, keep remembering, we're either in the illusions or we're in the oneness. One or the other, all the time, in any given moment. Which one do I want? And if I say I don't want the effects of duality, of choosing for separation, and I keep choosing to be over here, I'm kind of lying to myself, because I'd like to think that I want to be over here, but I really want to play in the arena. That is all we do. That is the gentleness he talks about. Don't change the thoughts. Don't correct them. Just watch them. And again, we become like private investigators, becoming very consciously aware of what my mind is up to all the time. I already read that. It is the watching them, deciding for Christ's vision instead of our own, that brings them back. And again, our ultimate goal is to watch them without judging or condemning them. Okay? Because if I'm watching them from here and hating myself because I'm still doing what I appear to be doing, then I'm still over here hating myself. Instead of recognizing, if you choose the opposite, you're going to have emptiness, illusion, uncertainty, death, specialness, guilt, sin, and fear, and blah, blah, blah. So you watch that character and realize they're reacting out of this choice of the cause, and of course the effects is going to be there. But if you can watch it without judging it or condemning it, you're just simply watching it go by, just like you would in your meditation, imagining that thought as a train that's going by and it's passing through. But if you grab a hold of it, hate it, judge it, attack it, and make yourself feel bad, then you're recycling the concept of the separation again. Just be aware of what those wandering thoughts are leading you to. They're leading you to the highway to hell. And if we understood completely that when I'm choosing for this, I'm choosing for the opposite of love, which the Course would call hell or hate, either one, doesn't matter. Because it's not aligned with this, so it's the opposite. And not to feel bad about becoming aware that you're aligning with the opposite or hate or hell. Just simply go, oh, made the wrong choice. I can choose again. And I know initially that's not going to be a real smooth transition, but once again, as you keep practicing, that will be a much easier awareness to do. And it's really no different than flipping on the light when you walk in the room, or flipping it off when you walk out of the room. It's that simple. Okay, I'm over here. Oop, got to come over here. That's not working anymore. Don't want that one. But we make it a big deal because, oh no, I shouldn't do that. I don't know why. I've been studying the Course for 20 years and I'm still over here. What's wrong with me? Instead of, oh my gosh, whoops, wrong one. Choose again. All right. Don't change the thought. Don't correct them. Just watch them. It is watching of them deciding for Christ's vision instead of your own that brings them back. Just be aware of what those wandering thoughts are leading you to, the highway to hell. Then keep asking yourself if that is what you truly want. Do I want to continue walking down the road to hell? Or I give the example, sometimes if you're in the car and you're leaving Cleveland and you're trying to get to Florida and you just saw a sign that says entering Canada. Good piece of information. Turn around, go the other way. That's all. And as you begin to have more and more experiences of the light and love that embraces all people, ending all judgments, it will be more and more difficult to turn away from that light and love and back to the ego's oblivion of darkness. So as he's saying, as we keep doing this, we won't get duped into the ego and pulled into it as frequently as we used to. And it will become this very gentle, oh, I went the wrong way, I can choose differently. And, if we really understood, these are stuck, okay. If we really knew every moment I'm either walking to the light or I'm walking to the darkness. And if I became aware I was walking to the darkness, I could stop immediately and say, whoop, nope, going back this way. Oops, get over there, you.
And trip on your way there.
Yeah, and trip on your way out, right. And the challenging thing is, if there's a problem going on in the world over here, I think it's my job to help fix that. Jesus says he doesn't need any first lieutenants or whatever. Our job is to keep turning to the light, because every time I do that, I'm like the tar baby who gets stuck in the tar. Because I'm not walking towards the light, I'm trying to fix the darkness. And there
They
is...
say it's easier to get pulled down than to pull up.
There you go.
from someone else.
Yep. And, from the perspective of our world, if somebody has a problem and I think I know something, I want to help them.
Right.
So it's very logical, it seems very loving, it seems very caring to do that. But in essence, that's really, you're just being pulled into the darkness yourself. And again, that's going to take some practice because we're so not acclimated to see it from that point of view. And that doesn't mean you don't ever offer your ideas, suggestions, assistance, but if you start to get caught in the trap of feeling as bad as they do about what you're doing, you're lost. And I like to think of it, if somebody's drowning and you don't know how to swim, it's not very helpful for you to hop in the water. Now, if you have a nice long stick and you can offer that to them and help pull them out, that's very different. So if you're getting emotionally stuck in somebody else's stuff, there's a good chance you're being pulled into what is not helpful for either of you, literally. All right, so then keep asking yourself if that is what I truly want, because keep remembering at the beginning we chose, we were aligned with oneness and we said, I want to be in charge. We got in charge and now we're in the separated state, and we've been in the separated state ever since. But the results of the separated state is the opposite of what God gave us: guilt, sin, and fear, separation, death, projection, and differences. When you realize I'm playing in one of those arenas and that's no longer serving you, it served us initially because we wanted to be an individual, special, and different, and we got that. We just did not get the gifts of God's love any longer. And when you're tired of this and you really want to know what oneness, peace, joy, and love are, all you have to do is get off the throne and let him be in charge. And observe when you're resistant to doing that, because you're not always open to doing that. Okay. All right, so again, then keep asking yourself, is that what you truly want? Because I'll keep doing what the ego was set up to do until I become aware that no longer serves me. That is no longer valuable to me. And you begin to have more and more experiences of the light and love, and that embraces all people, ending all judgment. It will be more and more difficult to turn away from that light and love and back to the ego's oblivion of darkness, because we will now understand that's not what I want anymore. And I know I've shared this story of somebody walking down the street, falling in a big hole, and it takes them a really long time to get out of the hole. So they go around the block and they fall in the hole again. This time they don't stay in the hole quite as long, but it takes a while. They go around the block again. They fall in the hole, but they get back out. Then they go around the corner and they walk around the hole and go around the next end. Now they don't even go down the street because it doesn't call them, it's no longer valuable for them. And quite literally, that's the process we are all walking through of ending the attachment to the ego and aligning with what is true.
And then ultimately you understand that you don't do that because it doesn't work.
It doesn't serve me,
It
yes.
doesn't serve you.
Yes,
How-
yes, yes.
How that other way of looking at it is that you want to help everybody and run around and do all those things. It's a very interesting turnaround to
Yep.
not go
Not
in
be,
that direction.
not be God anymore is really what it is, guys. You know, we want to play the part of God.
Well, we enjoy the distraction.
Well, and
Because
we,
when
of
enjoy
course,
the distraction, then
yes.
we don't have to
deal with our own stuff.
own
Yes,
stuff.
yes, yes, yes.
If I'm invested over here, then I don't have to look at my
That
mess
is
here.
quite
I'm looking
true.
at all these other messes.
Well, that's the way I guess the way I popped into the world was to fix the world, fix everybody else's
Well, we
stuff.
wanted to be in charge.
Of course, and we were. And how's it
You go
working?
there, you go there, you do this, stop doing that.
Yep.
That
Shouldn't do
became-
this, shouldn't do that.
How that became the view that people have that that's what God wants you to do. That's the other part. It was quite insidious to have that be the way you're taught because this is what God expects, and then to have to come through all that to the truth was well, I guess it's been worth it though. I mean, the minute I got caught onto the truth, I wasn't so invested in the other stuff.
There you go. Yeah. But we never, I don't think we ever look through the lens of when I'm in charge, God is not, and I'm pushing him under the bus.
That's true, we think that we think that being
Oh,
God
yeah.
is the whole point, that how we get to be godlike is to glom onto what.
Exactly.
What we think God would do.
Exactly. Yep. We let the light within our minds direct them to come home. We have betrayed them, these thoughts, ordering that they depart from us. In other words, when we've chosen for the ego, we're ordering the opposite, basically. But now we all call them back. In other words, we're calling back the memory of what we always were. We call them back and wash them clean of strange desires and distorted wishes. I love that. We wash them clean of strange desires and distorted wishes because everything from the ego point of view is about supporting the separated state, of which will never take you home. We restore them to the holiness of our inheritance. All right, so the process Jesus is talking about in a very poetic way is a process of paying attention to our thoughts. Again, becoming conscious, becoming aware, shining the, magnifying glass on our games that we play as an ego, and becoming aware that they're no longer value to us. And as we are able to do that more and more, we're not going to be duped into believing the stories of the ego as frequently. We need to be aware that in our minds, we have betrayed the honest thoughts. So in other words, we've chosen for the ego thoughts, which are the dishonest thoughts, and we no longer align with the honest thoughts, and we betrayed them. The thoughts of atonement, the thoughts of forgiveness. So when we choose for separation, we leave behind forgiveness and atonement. But in reality, we betrayed nothing. And the reason why we betrayed nothing is because nothing of the illusion is real. We just believe it's real, which is a real major setup for the ego and the illusion. We have done this only in our world of strange desires and distorted wishes, because we believed we wanted something other than what truth was, and we got it. And now we realize it wasn't so good. That we be something other than, I'll read that whole line. We have done this only in our world of strange desires and disordered wishes, that we be something other than what God created. And quite literally, when we chose for the separation, we became something other than what God created. We became what we made in opposition to what he created. Just watch your mind and be aware of that, and the process will be a happy one. So again, as he said earlier, we don't want to fight against the ego. We don't want to shout it down. We just want to simply be aware of what the results of having chosen for the ego bring us. And it will eventually dawn on us that it's bringing us something I really don't want anymore. I don't want to pay the price of what comes when I'm in charge. And the process will be a happy one, even if looking at these thoughts is painful. And in the process of coming to realize this is a happy choice, it will feel rather uncomfortable because we're so addicted to looking through the lens of the ego. So even if looking at these thoughts is painful, it will end up being a happy process because it is the way home. It is the only way home. Because if I'm going the wrong way, I'm not going home. I spoke earlier about replacing the sense of ego self when you study A Course in Miracles. Otherwise, you will not understand it. So what he's saying is this is about removing your concepts of anything and coming with empty hands. Because if you're trying to figure it out, change it, fix it, tell God you're right and he's wrong, any of those kinds of things, you're in charge. And if I'm in charge, I'm over here. It's only when I relinquish being in charge that I can step over here. I can't bring any of this over here and be over here. But when you are really quiet and can feel a deep sense of peace and love, your I is suspended as the memory of your identity as spirit begins to dawn, which I really like the way he's describing this, because I personally never really related being peaceful and still and quiet as me relinquishing my I, but he's really helping us to understand when peace is there, the I is gone, which makes sense intellectually, but I guess I just never connected those dots as much as he's presenting here.
Yeah, I haven't been on the
Yes.
idea of how that I disappears.
Right,
where it goes.
yes. And again, with this, I'm either, wrong one. I'm either, I'm in the tick of time, or I'm rising above time. But when I'm in that quiet, I'm actually rising above that. It's not just the moment when I say, okay, I got a problem here, help. It's literally any time you relinquish the time frame of the ticking of the time where you're just in that place of stillness and quiet. Okay. Your I is suspended as the memory of your identity as spirit begins to dawn. And again, spirit, body, spirit, body. Then, all of a sudden, comes the fear of the I disappearing, and you quickly go to any of the body distractions. And again, this comes when I'm up here a little too often or too long, and I can't tolerate the, what's the word I'm looking for? Lack of physical out-of-body experience. Okay, that'll work. And I'm not ready for that to the degree that I'd like to think I'm ready for it. And so I'll pop down here and I'll find something. And again, this happens so quickly, we don't even know what we're doing. But if you've ever talked, and a number of people in the group will share something like, I had this wonderful meditation. It was so peaceful. It was just like I didn't even want to get up out of my chair. And then 10 minutes later, I'm in a horrible argument with my spouse or something like that. Well, that's exactly what that I just read is talking about. That wonderful connection, I can't sustain it yet because that's too terrifying for me when I'm addicted to the solidness of the body. So be very aware that will oftentimes occur, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just It represents that I'm too afraid of that obtuseness, that out-of-bodiness, that I'm not connected to somethingness. And many of you have heard the concept of the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is a similar kind of thing. I don't have anything of the solidness that I'm accustomed to hold on to, and it's quite uncomfortable.
All right, I used to be afraid, well, maybe I still am, of having a near-death experience.
Mm.
And you read those stories, you see those videos, I'm
Yep.
like, whoa, no.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
I used to say, don't do that to me.
Right.
Anything but that.
Well, and that's the other thing, like we don't know what the results of choosing for oneness will really represent. And sometimes they're very threatening. I know a couple people in the class in the past have shared being in a very, very, very deep meditation, and it became terrorizing. This is a good thing, but it feels terrorizing if I'm not at that time able to take in that much light, I guess is the way to put it. And I give the example often of, being in a dark cave for X amount of years and somebody takes you out. Well, you don't want to run out because the bright sun is going to blind you. So you very gradually move out of that. And sometimes you're not ready to take that next step. So just be gentle with you.
Doesn't the Course talk about how fierce the ego becomes when you see
Vicious, if not malicious.
things
Yes,
where
absolutely.
it just becomes
Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
And
And
that's part of what the fear
exactly.
pulls you back into.
Absolutely. And it makes it sound like the ego is this entity outside of you saying, no, you're not going there. But that's what really is that's your investment in the ego that has put all its eggs in that basket. And so that it's basically saying, this is where you belong, dude. What are you doing over there? But big time. And that seems so unfair. We're working so diligently to rise above the solidness of the world, and then you do it, and then it's like you get slam dunked into something. It's like, that's just not. I want a pat on the back, tell me I did a good job. But I think at the same time, if you're aware that back and forth kind of experience is going to happen in this process, then you're not quite as devastated when it happens. But it can be pretty rough out there, pretty rough. And again, it's the investment I have put into the solidness of the illusion. And as I start to put more and more alignment into the Holy Spirit, the solidness of the illusion will slowly begin to diminish. And it won't be able to pull you in and suck you in like it used to. And that's all a result of which choice you've now begun to make. So it's not God saying, we're going to really show Bernardo how much we love him.
See how much
Yeah.
you can do with it. You go.
Yeah. Well, as when, many spiritualities will say, God will
Right.
only give you so much. And we're in control of how much light comes in or doesn't. And again, it's like so crazy because, this is my identification, and my true identification is this. Well, coming from here to here is quite a process. And you don't just flip over and just stay here and go, this is really nice. It's going to take a lot of progression before, yes, that's all I want. Thank you.
It's like building a muscle.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Absolutely. Without question. Yes. And I've often thought this is called the Course in Miracles, because we build on something and then we build on, and just like in school, and you learn your numbers, and then you come back the next year and now you have to learn addition. Whoa, and then you're all off kilter, and then you get pretty good at that, and then next year you come back and they start subtraction. Well, I'm all messed up again. It's the same kind of a process.
It reminds me of sometimes people here in other places will say, well, I wanted to be a healer, but then all these events started happening where I had to be a healer, and I didn't like those people, or this is not what I expected. I just wanted the gift.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
want to be healed.
The gifts according to me.
Right, no, I don't want to heal these.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know that I could do it.
Yes. Yeah. So, again, he emphasizes over and over in this article, we suddenly become aware of the fear of the I disappearing. And again, we have no clue how terrified we really are of my I disappearing. So we want to approach all of this very gently. And you quickly go into anything into anything of the body as a distraction, because we want to go back into something with the body that proves I'm here and I'm alive and I'm one and I'm whole and all that kind of stuff. And be very aware that even the most stringent argument you have is really saying, I am. And we cling to that unbelievably so. So it is not only that sickness is a defense against the truth. Anything you do that reaffirms your individual existence as a body is a defense against the truth. Because again, truth, body, mind, body. One or the other. And again, to the degree that I am addicted to my body, the mind is not really appealing. But as we keep drawing to the mind and less with the body, that starts to call us a little more strongly in that direction.
Sometimes I feel that what's going on right now, it seems chaotic all over the world. It's simply that a lot of people are like, okay, I'm not ready.
Big time. Yeah, I mean, even those of us that want to be ready oftentimes aren't ready. Yes. Just watch what you do and understand its purpose, and you will begin to realize that you have done that all your life. And I think it's also important to realize if you're being called, if you get being pulled into the world, it's your security blanket because you're too afraid of the light and oneness and know me. So be gentle with yourself when you catch yourself in that realm or that understanding, because it really is a protection of something I'm not ready for.
So a little bit of ice cream can go on.
There you go. Whether it is something seemingly important as a major life decision, for instance, or something as trivial as eating a candy bar instead of being quiet. And be aware how we get pulled into the lack of quietness because I legitimately feel I need to solve this problem, and then I'll come back and ask for the quiet. Instead of asking for the quiet, and then the answer will probably be a much better answer. But that takes practice and training where we are.
Put off the quiet.
Yeah. Yep. And, I mean, all of us, you might think, okay, I want to, whether it's meditation or just stillness or whatever it might be, well, I want to meditate twice a day. Okay, that's my goal. Well, but I got to go here and I've got to go there and I've got to take care of this and something in the house needs to be worked. And, that even, doing the workbook lessons, the same kind of thing. I think I want God more than I want anything else, but how many times do I do the workbook lessons as He asks us to? Probably not very many. And Ken would say, don't hate yourself or judge yourself or pick on yourself if you're not doing it, but do become aware you're not as aligned with God as you'd like to think you are. And that's okay. It's just showing you not quite ready yet.
I think initially, too, where are you going to find that extra half an hour?
Well, absolutely.
If you
Yes.
get up earlier, I've learned if I get up a half hour early, I have a better time of it. And
Yep.
so I've learned that over a long time. But I can see initially, who's going to get up a half an hour and go do calisthenics or go do this or that. But I guess it's.
Yeah. But even with that, a couple years ago, nobody had one of these little things that we now spend who knows how much time on a daily basis. How did we find time for this? There's something in here that's drawing my attention. And again, not good or bad, it's just become aware that's the game. I don't have time for God, but boy, now I have 2 hours on this, or however, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter.
Well, it catches you. You blame it on.
Some
you're not
stuff
gonna
of the
blame
world.
it on that, why you don't want God, I guess.
Yep.
They are all upset about the different levels of all these AI and things. But that stuff, it's always been something like that around that's been helpful or not helpful. So how the level of involvement with anything Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah,
those things are
exactly.
just different, but
Right.
they're not anything.
All right, I thought you were talking to me. You're talking to her. Okay, so the form does not matter. You simply want to recognize how much you want to keep your eye in place. And again, watch how you do that with the Course as well. All right, so A Course in Miracles in summary cannot be understood through your brain. It cannot be understood through your personal ego self. It will not reveal its secret to you as long as you approach it as an I. You receive the full depths of the profound teaching only when that boundary between you and it dissolves. And so finally, all things will come to shine in the inner light and peace of the dissolving I. This is the peace that truly paths all understanding, since it exists only in the unified thought of love that cannot be understood but merely known. And that's the deal. All right, we will say our prayer. Everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. See you next